Last week, I've been approached by three separate customers that came asking about Microsoft Project and the comparison between this tool and BigPicture or similar tools in the Atlassian ecosystem. That's quite a coincidence. We don't get these many requests regarding this topic nowadays, at least, because quite a lot of the companies have already migrated. So I thought to myself, isn't that a good opportunity to share a little bit more of the information in regards of that on our YouTube channel? I know that we've already been going through this with even more details than I'm going to do it now, and I will link the full video to the webinar in the description of this one. I will also link later on some other videos that I will mention while going through the presentation today. But this video, hopefully it will take around 15, maybe 20 minutes. I will show you some interesting things regarding both of the tools, and I will do my best to compare them, at least theoretically, because we are not going to be doing any hands-on session in this one. I just updated, refreshed a little bit my presentation that I had from I think 2 years ago, more or less, and I will do my best to keep your interest through the whole video. Hopefully this will be useful to you. By the way, this video is free of charge and it's available as our effort to deliver high quality training and learning materials for the Atlassian ecosystem in general. And if you want to support that, consider subscribing to the channel, liking the video, maybe better towards the end when you've already decided whether you liked it or not. And please remember that we do offer professional services in this area: training, consulting, implementation support, any kind of customization as well. We have many. Actually, I'm going to be talking about our company a little bit in a moment, so I'll leave it at that and let's begin. So this slide that you see over here, this was actually the title of the webinar that I've handled like 2 years ago. And the beginning of this webinar is a little bit about Genius Gecko as a company. And I don't have too many opportunities to talk about Genius Gecko in general in the videos that I'm recording. So I'm actually going to take this chance right here, right now. So first of all, I will actually start from the beginning of this page. Excellent honesty and self-development, the best approach we can imagine. This is basically what drives our spirits at Genius Gecko. And this is why we try to do things a little bit differently than many other companies. And I'll go through the bullet points they have over here, and hopefully towards the end you will understand how it's different and why it's different like this. So because I will be mostly talking about Microsoft Project and BigPicture in this area, I want you to understand that we have been working with project management inside the Jira or Atlassian ecosystem in general for many years, and we are most proficient in BigPicture specifically because this is the tool that we've started with, and we have been working very closely with BigPicture throughout the years. Why is it important? Well, it's quite an advanced tool, and if you are going to hire someone to help you with the journey through the BigPicture training and implementation, you want to have somebody that is constantly working with the tool and knows all the in and outs of it, is up to date with all the latest versions. And we are, because we are the only company on the market that actually recorded a video training for BigPicture, and we keep this video training up to date. So whenever there is a new release, new version of the tool, we take a look at what's changed. We record updates for the video training so that all the participants or all the trainees available over there immediately get the information that there is a new version and there are some changes to the tool that they need to be aware of. And of course, on top of this, we do constantly deliver training, services, consulting, implementation in this area. So it helps us retain this information and stay on top of the game. But apart from this, we are of course also working with Jira Confluence, Jira Service Management, Jira Core, Jira Product Management, which is the newest tool, the newest addition to the family, and I personally love it a lot. And we are doing all kinds of optimization, configuration, administration, training, customization, migration from other tools. So if you're looking for someone to help you in this area, we are your guys as well. Also, some unique things about our approach to business. So as I've read somewhere here at the bottom, we do focus on excellence and customer satisfaction. This was my dream when I was starting the company. I didn't want to do things like many other companies do. So, hire the juniors and push them onto the projects and reap the cash out of rich customers. My approach was to deliver high quality services, not for the cheapest of prices, but I know that we are also not the most expensive on the market. I think we are rather somewhere in the middle when it comes to these kind of services, project management in Atlassian ecosystem services. So I think that our prices are not bad, but our quality is top shelf. Therefore, I'm super proud of it. And, if you will be able to experience it firsthand, we will be able to talk more about this. Also, we try to have a 4-day work week. Why do I say try? Well, because the world we live in is not easy to deal with when you're working with the 4-day work week. The idea behind this is connected with the self-development that I've mentioned also earlier. So I very much want my employees to have time for self-development, to have time for reflection, to have time to take a step back and look at the broad spectrum of things, because then you sometimes can see things that normally with day-to-day grind you simply miss. And also you get this time that helps you get better day after day or week after week, and therefore it helps us keep the level of or the quality of our services at the highest possible level. But things happen, and for example, right now, Jarek, who is one of my employees, is doing a project for a bank that is very demanding, and he is working 5 days a week, sometimes even longer, sometimes even more than 5 days a week. So, I'm sure that he will get the chance to get this time back at some point in time, but for now it is what it is, and we do work with all the time zones. We have to be very flexible in this area, so we are all kind of committed and accepting that this is how it's going to be, and there will be times when this is absolutely achievable, and there also will be times when maybe this is not as achievable as we would like it to be. But what is not negotiable is our commitment to charity, and there are companies even in the Atlassian ecosystem that join the move of pledging 1% of their revenue for charities. We take it a step further, actually maybe 10 steps further, because we pledge 10% of our revenue for charities, and I'm personally very much proud of this. So this is who we are. This is Genius Gecko. Now, this slide is about me. I'm a little bit shy talking about me, but I will mention 3 things. First of all, I love the change in the world. And as it's written over here, shift happens. This is something that grinds my gear. So I definitely like a dynamic environment. Second thing I want to mention that maybe is important for you appreciating that I am the one delivering this video to you is that I have been working with project management for 17 years now, more or less. And it's been quite a journey, and I am myself quite an experienced project manager. I hire experienced project managers as well. And I have been working with the tools inside the Atlassian ecosystem, Jira, Confluence, since 2016. So we are in this business for quite a long time already. And this is more or less when the project management ideas and apps and add-ons around the Atlassian ecosystem started sprouting. 2016, 2015, 2014 actually as well. So we've been there almost from the very beginning, and we have been growing with it as well. So we do understand the history, but we do also understand different kinds of application that those tools, those functions inside those tools have in your day-to-day business, which is so important because, it's one thing understanding what the tool does and what each function can bring to you, but there is a whole new level when it comes to taking the same kind of knowledge and mixing it with the experience, with all the work through use cases, and understanding how you can actually use even some of those functionalities with an out-of-the-box application, or understanding the drawbacks that some configuration options give you. And we do know these, we do understand those, and we do communicate those with our customers. So very often you will hear from us, well, it can be done this way, this way, this way, and that way. And if you do it with gate number 1, these are the cons, these are the pros, and so on and so on. So we always communicate different approaches and try to have a discussion regarding which one will be the best for the client and their particular use case. And it's always a balancing game, a trade-off game. So that's just how it has to be. Last thing I will mention about me is that I love nature, I love mountains, I love hiking, but I also do like orienteering, which is a sport when you run with the map and compass. I actually have a separate YouTube channel where I'm teaching how to do orienteering. I am the coach of the Polish junior national team, and I have been doing this sport for 27 years. So that's also been quite a journey. I've never encountered anything else that would come even close to orienteering for me personally, of course, because we all have our own different preferences. All right, let's get into the topic of this video, really. So let's talk about Microsoft Project and BigPicture. Why BigPicture? Because we think that this is currently the best project management solution inside the Atlassian ecosystem or Jira ecosystem, but it is not the only one. There are other apps that come sometimes very close to BigPicture, and sometimes can even be better depending on what you actually need from it. So I'm not saying that BigPicture is the only one. I just picked this because this is what this presentation was all about, so it was easy for me. But if you are interested in listening about other tools or you want to hire someone that will be able to tell you, look, I know you're considering BigPicture, but after looking at your detailed requirements, we actually think that there is something else that will work better for you, then we will be able to tell you that, because we do this niche, this project management niche in the Atlassian ecosystem, and we know many tools, not just this one. Anyway, many of our clients, 30%, I think it's more or less at this point in time, migrate from Microsoft Project or similar tools. So I would be lying if I would say 30% exactly migrate from Microsoft Project. No, because some of them are working with other tools that have kind of the same drawback as Microsoft Project, which I will mention a little bit later. And this is the look into BigPicture. The starting screen of BigPicture will look something like this, or may look something like this, and we will be talking about this tool and comparing it to Microsoft Project right now. So let's look at the advantages and downsides of MSP. First of all, advantages. Let's focus on that. I really want to mention at the very beginning that I do appreciate Microsoft Project. I think it's a great tool, and I think it has been for many, many years the best tool on the market. I often like to say that this is like a grandfather to all the project management tools. It was there at the beginning, when the cyber world for project management was developed. And many of the tools that we currently have on the market that are like competing with Microsoft Project grew from what Microsoft Project built from this ecosystem. And definitely many of them were looking at the grandfather of everything and thinking, I want to do some of the things exactly like this guy, but some of the things I will do differently because there are better ways, right? So this tool is great, but I also think that for several years now, there have been better alternatives, and I will tell you why very soon. Second thing, when it comes to advantages, is that my MSP, I think it does budgeting quite well. It has some quite advanced functions when it comes to budgeting, and when we are comparing Microsoft Project to BigPicture, BigPicture definitely is not that great when it comes to budgeting. It doesn't have all the advanced functions, although I also have to mention that through the last, I don't know, 1.5, 2 years, some functions were actually added to BigPicture that make budgeting a lot easier than it was 2 or 3 years ago. And even though it's not as great as it can be in Microsoft Project, it's still decent. And there are quite a lot actually of the companies that are happy with what BigPicture brings to the table right now. And another thing I want to add on top of this is that if you really want to have a more advanced budgeting inside the Atlassian ecosystem, then there are other apps that we can bring in and put next to BigPicture that will take care of that. So it's not that bad, really. Next one, automatic resource leveling. This is something that Microsoft Project is doing pretty well. Some tools inside the Atlassian ecosystem try to do it well as also, but I think that they ultimately failed. And I think the problem with them was that to be able to balance the tasks and resources properly, you actually needed to input a lot of data into the system first. And this is what many of the users didn't understand. And even though there were tools where this was actually possible, they were hard to use. And I've been there, I've worked with the customers trying to understand why they balance their project line and somehow their tasks end up in a completely different spot than they were expecting them to be. And simply it was a matter of not understanding the algorithms really behind what was happening. And so I think that the point that we are at right now is a good one because it's more understandable to user, it's easier to use, and at the same time it brings a lot of automation still and a lot of understanding into the project management world. So I'm happy with it, but I do acknowledge that my MSP does it in a little bit different way, and it's probably not probably, but it is a little bit more automated. The next one is formulas for auto-calculated custom fields. This point is specifically added over here for the comparison with BigPicture because some of the other project management tools, for example, do have auto-calculated custom fields. BigPicture doesn't at this point in time, so I had to keep it over here. But I do believe that sometime in the future we will eventually get this feature. I'm sure it's coming, I just don't know when. And then reports. Reports is here not to indicate that Microsoft Project has reports and BigPicture doesn't. They actually both do. But Microsoft Project reports are a little bit more advanced, right? So I felt obliged to put the reports as an advantage for MSP. But again, when it comes to BigPicture, there are options. So you can not only use the BigPicture reporting module, but we also teach our customers that there are several other places inside the tool as well, which don't specifically say, hey, this is the report section, but you can actually get a lot of valuable data out of those screens. Also, Jira has dashboards, and you can use dashboards to bring more information in the report kind of format. Also, if that is not enough, and sometimes we have customers that are very demanding in this area, then there is a whole plethora of possibilities when it comes to reporting outside of BigPicture, which is completely feasible because BigPicture is always working on Jira data. So if you can bring in another app that is also able to grab this data, munch through this and spit out a report that you're looking for, awesome, you're there, right? And this is what we sometimes do when there is a need for it. When it comes to downside of MSP, it is viewed as expensive. It's not me saying this. This is what we hear from the customers. We are always asking them, why are you switching from MSP? What don't you like about it? And very often we hear that it's simply expensive. So I thought that it's worth sharing it with everybody. The next one, I don't know, maybe I should put it in bold and frame it somehow. I don't think that this, the format that is displayed right now is the one that it deserves, but I think this is the most important element when it comes to comparing those tools. And I will actually talk more about this on the next slide. So right now I'll just say that it's disconnected from progress data, and I will explain what I mean by this in a very moment. No support for processes. It's simply because when let's imagine that you have a task in your project work breakdown structure, and now this task has to go through a certain process. This process can be quite advanced. Maybe you want to put some automation on this process. Maybe you want to add some customized transition to this process, right? BigPicture is not a processing tool. It's not a workflow tool, and Jira is. So because Microsoft Project is not, right? So because BigPicture is working on top of Jira, it has access to all of those functionalities. MSP does not. The next one, based predominantly in waterfall and cascade methodologies, right? I think that this is true, although I do have to mention that there are some possibilities of putting iteration-like features inside MSP as well, and they can work to some extent, but they will never be as agile, embedded, agile, compliant as Jira is, and as BigPicture is on top of Jira, extending the functionalities that Jira out of the box has. Also, simple risk management. I actually had this one earlier as no risk management because that was true like 2 years ago. But then some new features have been introduced to MSP, to the new versions of MSP. So now it has some risk management. Although I still believe that BigPicture has a dedicated module for risk management. It's made in a very simple way, presented in a very attractive way, and it's simply easy to use. So I still prefer Microsoft Project way of doing things. So let's talk about this point about disconnected from the progress data, and about traceability. So what I absolutely love about BigPicture, Structure, any other project management tool that is embedded inside Jira or Atlassian ecosystem, or actually other ecosystems as well, because Jira is not the only ecosystem that works in this way. What I do love about it is that everything is connected. You don't have a separate tool doing project management somewhere on the side, but you actually have a tool doing project management that is on top of your workflowing tool, on top of your process management tool. And there is a beauty in that. Now, this slide, even though it's not really pretty, I do understand this, I'm not great at making slides, but I think it shows more or less what I have in mind. So imagine this scenario. Imagine that you create I can't click on this. Imagine that you're creating a portfolio inside BigPicture. Under the portfolio, you can create a project. Inside that project, you can create a sprint. And this can already be your Jira sprint. So there is already a connection between your project management tool and your process/workflow tool. You have sprints in there. Then inside the sprints, you can have epics. Sometimes they spread across multiple sprints. That's doable as well. Then you have user stories connected to those epics. Under those user stories, maybe you have tasks, which I didn't put over here, but maybe you have subtasks. Then, under those subtasks, at some point in time, let's assume you're doing development. Maybe you will want to attach test cases. Maybe those test set. Maybe those test set will have test cases. Maybe when someone is going through a test case, they will find a bug. And of course, thanks to everything being nicely connected, you get the traceability. So, when this bug is found, you can immediately understand the impact, right? Let's say that this bug is huge. It's like, holy shit, we thought this is going to work, but it actually doesn't work as we thought it does, which happens from time to time. And then you need to understand how this impacts the whole delivery process, right? So you can trace it back to everything that precedes it and immediately understand, okay, so this epic is going to be delayed because we found a critical bug over here and we will have to work around this, right? And on top of this, you have risks that contribute. You have objectives that can be defined for sprints or for projects actually as well. So there could be an arrow going this side. You have versions, you have components, you have cost that you can track as well. You have teams, you have users. And, I didn't want to make it too crowded, but, if you think about it, I could also add a theme, a feature, a function, a program, a stage, a quarter, initiative, assets, program increments, packages, bundles, tribes, and whatever else you want in there. It all fits. It all fits either into BigPicture or into Jira, right? And because BigPicture is working on Jira data, it's almost exactly the same. Doesn't matter where you put it. And this is a big thing. So when someone is working on this user story or someone is working on a subtask and they change the status and they say, this task is done, the project manager over here sees this information immediately and then knows, okay, this is done. Let's focus on the next one, right? If someone reports some hours on the task, it immediately moves the progress forward. And here the project manager sees that from 20%, it jumped to 50%. Awesome, job well done. I'm on track. I can, I don't have to like go around and talk to 15 different teams in 4 different departments to understand what's going on in my project or in my portfolio, because I get this information immediately. And I'm not saying that it's bad to go and talk with people. It is very good, right? But I'm just saying that you don't have to do this as you would have to do this if the tool is separated from the, let's call it, working data, okay? Also, you create a user story, you create a subtask, you assign the subtask to the person. This person immediately gets a notification, hey, there is a task assigned to you. You can go into Jira and start working on it. And it's flawless. It's flawless. I love it. Anyway, big picture, the main strengths, advantages, and downsides. All of it is actually going to be repeating itself from the previous slide, so I'll go quickly through this. Embedded in Jira, together they build a comprehensive and interconnected PPM system, Portfolio Project Management System, right? So hopefully after explaining this more or less with the traceability and connection to the workflow layer underneath big picture, you kind of understand where it's coming from right now. Great visibility into all relevant project data. Again, the traceability. Very good support for agile project delivery. So Jira, out of the box, I think it does a pretty well job when you're thinking about agile projects. Big picture adds another layer on top of this. But also, I'm checking if it's written over here, but it's not. So I will say this, that it's also very important to understand that big picture allows you to work with waterfall approach or cascade approach, with agile approach, but also a hybrid approach. It does it very, very well. So lots of our companies that we are working with have a little bit of agile, a little bit of waterfall. Sometimes some teams are working agile, some teams are working waterfall. At the top, it's all aggregated in a waterfall-like fashion. And big picture allows you to combine all of that together. And that's also a beauty of this tool. Flexibility to accommodate via boxes. So big picture has these boxes as building blocks, and they are very flexible. They allow you to build in unlimited levels of hierarchy. You can put projects into programs into portfolios, or the other way around, doesn't matter. And you can also break projects into smaller pieces. So there are many things that you can do with those boxes, and there is definitely beauty in that. Dedicated risk management module, I've mentioned that already, so I'm not going to talk about it. Constantly developed with new features added at regular intervals. Even more accurate right now than it was 2 years ago, because big picture has undergone a change in their development process, and now we are getting very frequent updates. Like every week, every second week, we are getting a new version. Sometimes it's just bug fixing, but more or less like every month and a half, we get an update with new features coming in, and sometimes these are just small changes here and there. Sometimes these are big features that make the life for big picture users a lot easier. So I really like this about the tool, and I know that there is a great team behind this. I know some of them very well. We are from the same country, so we had an opportunity to meet face to face several times. I love these guys. Downsides. Financial management. So I've mentioned this a little bit earlier, and I will repeat it again. The budgeting part of big picture is not super advanced, but there are other alternatives. Then the second one needs more extensive reporting capabilities in some cases, not always. So we usually come into more advanced reporting challenges with I'm thinking if this will be accurate, but I think I can say that more or less when a company is above 500 users, we tend to see that they have more sophisticated requirements when it comes to reporting, and sometimes we do have to work a little bit more in this area outside of what big picture has to offer in general. Cool. So now I think we should all understand that basically where I'm coming from is that when you're working without big picture, you have this data that is connected to your project in several different places. So you will have Microsoft project, then maybe you'll have some data in different files, Excel files, PowerPoint, and so on. Then maybe you will have some other tool that will be doing the project management for you, and this is where you will have those tasks, subtasks that you assign to people, and make sure that they are done on time. Maybe you will be synchronizing with several different tools separately. What BigPicture does is that it combines everything into one place, and because it works under one ecosystem, these two blue small arrows are actually super important over here, because they make sure that there is a two-way synchronization between whatever ecosystem you're working with. Is it Jira, is it Confluence, is it the Jira Service Management, or Trello even, or several instances of Jira Cloud that also can be combined into one BigPicture instance. Then all of that data is getting nicely synchronized into one place, and you have like one view from which you can understand everything that's what's going on in your whole portfolio. And I love it. And I love it. I'm not saying that this tool is without its challenges. Every tool has some drawbacks, and BigPicture has some drawbacks as well, but this is not the place for me to talk about those drawbacks. If you think that you want to hear more about Jira in general, if you don't know it as well yet, or maybe some project management tools like BigPicture inside the Atlassian ecosystem, let us know. There is here, I think, an email that you can use to contact us. It will also be in the description of this video. And if you want to follow this one up, because this one was like just a raw PowerPoint presentation, if you want to have a live preview of what BigPicture actually looks like, I will also link in the description of this video another video that we record every year, which is like an overview of the tool, so that you can see the live tool in action and understand a little bit better what it does, how it looks like, and I go into a little bit more details regarding different features available in different modules during this overview, so you will be able to get a better feeling of what the tool is capable of. And if after this you will want to contact us to talk about possibility of training, implementation support, or any kinds of services, please do. We will be happy to talk with you and help you out. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll be seeing you in one of the next videos.